and welcome to the session on central tenets of logical positivism. Logical positivism and metaphysics. We have looked at the history, origins, inspirations and influences of logical positivism in the last unit. In this unit, we will look in detail at the major tenets, concepts and ideas related to logical positivism. As we have seen in the last unit, logical positivism tried to borrow the elements and methods of natural sciences. Ideas of Ernst Mach were a great source of inspiration for logical positivism. But he did not consider himself as a philosopher. He claimed that his aim is to unify science. He argued that in the process he was trying to purify sciences from the influence of all metaphysical elements. He believed that he was not trying to construct a philosophy. Many members of the Vienna Circle shared the same idea, but Maurice Schlick, who chaired the Vienna Circle, was the exception to this general attitude of Vienna Circle members. He argued that with the help of logical positivism, philosophy had taken a new turn, but the other members of the Vienna Circle did not hold this opinion about philosophy. For example, Rudolf Carnap, another renowned member of the Vienna Circle, was against this view. In the Unity of Science, he said that logical positivists are not trying to answer any philosophical questions. In his opinion, they are trying to reject all philosophical questions, whether metaphysics, ethics or epistemology. In his view, philosophy had to be destroyed instead of renovating it. The logical positivists considered that they were applying the possibilities of science over the entire area of systematic truth. This view was developed against German idealism. In idealist philosophy, spiritual and non-material ideas are central to understand human experience and explain the world. Idealist philosophers claimed that they have special kind access to truth which is beyond science. Through scientific methods and principle of verifiability, logical positivism attempted to destroy such claims. As a result, logical positivism became one of the sharp critics of traditional philosophy. It challenged many aspects and concepts of traditional philosophy, including metaphysics, ethics and epistemology. In order to understand what are the central ideas of logical positivism, we should first have an idea of what metaphysics is. The whole philosophy of logical positivism is centered on the negation of metaphysics. Metaphysics is one of the traditional branches of philosophy. Metaphysics attempts to explain the fundamental nature of being and the world. We should understand that it is not very easy to define metaphysics. The aim of metaphysics is to answer two basic questions in the broadest possible terms. Those questions are, what is there and what is it like? There are some fundamental notions by which people understand the world, such as existence, property, space, time, causality and possibility. Metaphysics seeks to clarify these fundamental notions. Ontology is one of the most important branches of metaphysics. Ontology is the investigation into the basic categories of being and how they relate to each other. Before science developed as a unique and independent discipline, people addressed and regarded scientific questions as part of metaphysics. This was called natural philosophy. The term science itself meant knowledge. Later, science developed its own methods and tools to understand reality and the world. With the arrival of scientific methods, the branch of metaphysics, which was earlier known as natural philosophy, was transformed into an empirical inquiry. This method was different from the methods of philosophy and it derived its conclusion from experiment. By the end of the 18th century, natural philosophy was called science and it separated itself from the rest of the philosophy. With these changes, metaphysics was regarded as a philosophical inquiry of the nature of existence that has non-empirical character. Science and metaphysics came to be seen as two separate and often opposite views of the world. Science was based on empiricism and experiment and was based on a concrete set of ideas. On the other hand, metaphysics was seen as non-empirical and abstract. Logical positivism revived the scientific nature in philosophical enquiries. They rejected metaphysics on the ground that its assertions were meaningless. Meaninglessness of metaphysics was based on the fact that there was no possible way of verifying them in experience. A statement or a proposition becomes meaningful only if we can verify them through experience. For example, consider the following proposition: the absolute is beyond time. Logical positivism argued that this proposition cannot be verified through experience. Therefore, such a statement tells us nothing about the world and hence it is a meaningless proposition. The rejection of transcendental metaphysics was not a new idea at all. Philosophers like David Hume had described metaphysics as illusion and blamed that it makes use of insignificant expressions. Immanuel Kant had argued that metaphysics is not a theoretical knowledge. Ernest Mach attempted to remove all metaphysical elements from science. Earlier philosophers who criticized metaphysics only described it as empty, useless or unscientific. Logical positivists went a step further and rejected metaphysics as meaningless. According to logical positivism, the propositions of metaphysics are neither true nor false. They do not have any significance. For example, consider the previous proposition: the absolute is beyond time. In the logical positivism's view, if one denies it, this proposition does not make sense. Even if one asserts it, then also the proposition does not make sense. In other words, denying is as nonsensical as asserting a proposition like the absolute is beyond time. Logical positivists argued that when they say philosophical assertions were meaningless, they meant that such assertions lacked cognitive meaning. Cognitive meaning is the cognitive aspect of the meaning of a sentence. That is, cognitive meaning is the content of a statement or assertion that remains even after we remove the tone or emotive meaning of that assertion. The cognitive aspect is what would make the sentence true or false. Cognitive meaning of a sentence or proposition is the truth condition of that sentence or assertion. Ethical and metaphysical assertions have emotional associations. In that sense, they are not mere jumbles of words. Statements like God exists or stealing is wrong are not a collection of nonsense syllables. But according to logical positivism, such statements and assertions do not convey any information about the existence or character of a particular kind of entity. Thus, ethics and metaphysics by their very nature are incapable of providing us with information. Only science can give us that sort of information about the existence or character of an entity. Ludwig Wittgenstein's Tractatus Logico-Philosophicus was a major influence on the central ideas of logical positivism. Tractatus Logico-Philosophicus was concerned with the question of what philosophy is and what it is meant to do. It emphasized on the role of philosophy. According to the Tractatus, we should view philosophy as a kind of clarifying activity. It was argued that philosophy cannot step outside the boundaries of language. Schlick borrowed from Wittgenstein's Tractatus doctrine that philosophy is an activity. He suggested that philosophy consists of the activity of showing what the meaning of a statement consists. In other words, philosophy can be seen as a silent act of pointing. The ultimate meaning of a proposition cannot consist in other propositions. Therefore, we have to pass beyond propositions to the experience in which their meaning consists. It is important to note that this view was not fully embraced by other logical positivists. Logical positivism and ethics. Logical positivism rejected aesthetics and ethics along with metaphysics. But among the logical positivists, there were disagreements about ethics. They were against placing values as superior to experience. They all rejected any variety of transcendental ethics that attempt to set up a realm of values over and above the world of experience. Assertions about values are part of metaphysics and therefore they should be rejected as nonsensical. Maurice Schlick attempted to free ethics from its metaphysical elements. Rudolf Carnap and A. J. Ayer argued that what we generally consider as ethical assertions are not assertions at all. Consider the following ethical assertion: stealing is wrong. When we say stealing is wrong, we are not making an empirical statement about stealing. At the same time, we are not relating stealing to some transcendental realm. According to logical positivism, the statement stealing is wrong either expresses our feelings about stealing or expresses our feelings of disapproval, or it is an attempt to stop others from stealing. In other words, stealing is wrong does not convey any information. However, there was a different view about ethics among the logical positivists. The logical positivist most interested in ethics was Schlick. He attempted to understand ethics in agreement with the philosophical principles of logical positivism. Schlick maintained that ethics is a descriptive scientific theory. Statements about ethics should not be viewed as directing people on how people ought to behave, because in this case there were meaninglessness by the standards of the verifiability principle. Statements about ethics are indeed descriptive statements relating to the origin and the evolution of the ethical principles in human society. He made a distinction between the prescriptive nature of ethics and the descriptive nature of ethics. In his opinion, ethics should not be seen as prescriptions of moral behavior. Instead, they are descriptions of the world. It describes how human beings act and behave in a society. Schlick asserted that human beings naturally prefer conditions that do not produce pain and do produce pleasure. Thus, good is simply whatever that gives pleasure and no pain, and the very first ethical principle is an egoistic one. But human behavior is subject to the natural evolution, which sometimes selects cooperative ways of action than a purely egoistic one. Thus, we can find a struggle between an egoistic behavior suggested by the human nature and a social behavior generated by the natural evolution. Language and verifiability principle. As we have already seen, logical positivism gave importance to language. Rudolf Carnap distinguishes three classes of sentences: object sentences, pseudo-object sentences, and syntactical sentences. Any ordinary sentence of mathematics or science is an object sentence. For example, 5 is a prime number. Lions are fierce. Syntactical sentences are sentences about words and the rules governing the use of words. For example, 5 is not a thing word but a number word. Lion is a thing word. Pseudo-object sentences are something that can be found particularly in philosophy. They look like object sentences, but if we understand them rightly, we can see that they are syntactical sentences. To understand them rightly, we have to convert them from the material mode into the formal mode. That is, they should be converted from sentences which look as if they are about objects into sentences which are about words. For example, 5 is not a thing but a number. Lions are things. In material mode, these sentences cannot be discussed. Once these sentences are converted out of the material mode into the corresponding formal mode, they can be discussed. Logical positivism focused on the elimination of metaphysics through the logical analysis of language. It believed that once people are free from the influence of metaphysical nonsense, they will use verifiable scientific statements on the one hand and poetry on the other. The tool with which they eliminated metaphysics was the principle of verification or the verifiability principle. The essence of this principle can be traced back to David Hume. We will discuss the verifiability principle in a separate unit because it demands more attention. To put it simply, the verifiability principle asserts that a statement is meaningful if it obeys one of the following two conditions. Either they should be purely formal, that is, abstract reasoning concerning quantity or number, modern mathematics and logic, or they should be capable of empirical verification, that is, experimental reasoning concerning matter of fact and existence. Thus, the following sentences are meaningful. Jimmy is a large dog. The cardinal number 3 is the class of all triples. Some apples are red. All electrons are negatively charged. But the following sentences are not meaningful. The nothing nihilates. The good is the class of the determinate conceived as a unity. There is an omnipotent God, since there is no way of verifying that an entity is infinitely powerful. The state is the image of the divine on earth. It was allowed that even though some sentences are meaningless, they can express emotions. According to them, the proper means of doing so was poetry. Carnap offered Nietzsche's "Thus Spoke Zarathustra" as an example of how to sublimate one's metaphysical urges. As Neurath pointed out, it was a very enlightenment idea. If ordinary people knew verificationism and apply it in everyday life, they will know what is capable of empirical verification. This idea looked very simple and easy, but getting the difference between some apples are red and the nothing nihilates was terribly difficult. It leads to profound researches in mathematical logic, scientific methodology, semantics and semiotics. One of the major critics of verifiability principle was Karl Popper. Though he had contacts with Vienna Circle, he was not a positivist. He developed his own criterion for demarcating between science and metaphysics. This was called the principle of falsification. We will deal with verifiability principle and falsification principle in detail in the coming units. There are only two sources of knowledge, logical reasoning and empirical experience. Based on this, all meaningful statements can be divided into two classes. That is, statements those are true or false in virtue of their logical forms or in virtue of their meaning. These statements are called analytic a priori. Wittgenstein called such sentences tautological sentences. Statements whose truth or falsity can be verified only by means of the experience. They are called synthetic a posteriori. Logic and mathematics belong to the class of analytic a priori statements. They are true in virtue of their own terms. The class of synthetic a posteriori statements includes all genuine scientific statements like those of physics, biology and psychology. Hence, synthetic a priori does not exist. The fundamental thesis of logical positivism lies in denying the possibility of synthetic a priori knowledge. A statement is meaningful if and only if it can be proved true or false by means of the experience or in virtue of its meaning. Thus, the meaning of a statement is its method of verification. That is, we know the meaning of a statement only if we know the conditions under which the statement is true or false. The meaning of a statement is thus defined only through the specification of those conditions. The definition of the circumstances under which a statement is true is equivalent to the definition of its meaning. Experience is the only judge of scientific theories, but logical positivists were aware that scientific knowledge does not exclusively rise from the experience. Scientific theories can be hypotheses that go beyond the limits of finite human experience. Traditional philosophy was regarded as meaningless on the basis of these principles. Many alleged philosophical problems were seen as pseudo problems. An example was the controversy between realists and instrumentalists. They are the outcomes of a misuse of language. They do not concern matters of fact, but the choice between different linguistic frameworks. Thus, the logical analysis of language was regarded by logical positivism as the tool to resolve philosophical problems. Logical positivism and the structure of scientific theories. A scientific theory, according to logical positivism, is a system that acquires an empirical interpretation from suitable statements called coordinative definitions. This will help to establish a correlation between real objects and the abstract concepts of the theory. The most important contribution of logical positivism is that it developed a structure of scientific theories. The language of a scientific theory includes three kinds of terms: logical, observational, theoretical. Logical terms denote the logical constants, symbols and words that are true under every condition, and the mathematical objects. Observational terms denote objects or properties that can be directly observed or measured. Theoretical terms mean the objects or properties we cannot observe or measure, but we can only infer from direct observations. Examples of theoretical terms are electron, atom, magnetic field. The statements of a scientific theory are divided in two groups: analytic, synthetic. Analytic statements are a priori and their truth is based on the rules of the language. Synthetic statements depend on experience and can be verified only by means of the experience. This conception about the structure of scientific theories is most durable contribution of the logical positivism. This contributed greatly to the philosophy of science. In its early stage, logical positivism believed that all theoretical terms were definable with the help of the observational terms. Further researches performed by Carnap showed that theoretical terms cannot be defined by observational ones. Thus, theoretical terms are indispensable in a scientific theory. Pragmatic aspects of scientific research were not considered by logical positivism. It was not interested in the real process of discovery. It was concerned more with the rational reconstruction of scientific knowledge. Logical positivism was more focused in the study of the logical relationships between statements, hypotheses and empirical evidence. Let me summarize the session. In this unit, we looked in detail the major features, concepts and the central tenets of logical positivism. By placing importance on scientific methods, logical positivism rejected many propositions of the traditional philosophy. It ruled out the propositions of metaphysics, ethics and aesthetics on the ground that they are not verifiable. According to logical positivism, verifiability principle was the test of truth and meaning. Language was very important in logical positivism. Propositions of metaphysics were rejected through a systematic logical analysis of language. Logical positivism helped to develop a structure of scientific theories. Hope that you may attempt these questions. What is Rudolf Carnap's classification of sentences? Why did logical positivism reject metaphysical propositions? What are analytic a priori and synthetic a posteriori? Explain the structure of scientific theories. What is verifiability principle? You can go through these books for reference. Beckwith, Burnham, Putnam, Religion, Philosophy and Science, An Introduction to Logical Positivism, New York, Philosophical Library, 1957. Carnap, Rudolf, An Introduction to the Philosophy of Science, New York, Basic Books, 1974. Friedman, Michael, Reconsidering Logical Positivism, Cambridge, UK, Cambridge University Press, 1999. Logical Empiricism, Historical and Contemporary Perspectives, Pittsburgh, University of Pittsburgh Press, 2003. Hope that you have enjoyed this session. Thank you.